All right, let's talk about Ernest Hemingway. We all know the name, right? That super powerful minimalist style. But what if I told you his greatest strength wasn't actually what he wrote, but what he didn't write? Today, we're going to dive into his most influential idea, the iceberg theory.
It seems like a total paradox, doesn't it? I mean, we're always taught to be descriptive, to paint this really full picture for the reader. But Hemingway, he perfected a technique where the words that are left unsaid actually carry the most weight. So how on earth does leaving things out create a richer, deeper experience? Let's get into it.
So here it is. This is the heart of the whole thing. Just picture an actual iceberg out in the ocean. What you see bobbing above the water, that's just a tiny fraction of its true size. Hemingway believed a great story should work in the exact same way. The writer shows you just the tip, but you, the reader, you can feel the immense hidden weight of everything that's going on right beneath the surface.
And get this, he was surprisingly specific with this metaphor. He actually said that only about 1/8 of the story should be visible. That's the part that's explicitly written down on the page. It's the tangible, observable world of the story, and that's it.
So what exactly makes up this visible tip? Well, it's all the concrete stuff, the basic facts of a situation, the exact words characters say to each other, and what they physically do. The key here, and this is crucial, is that it's all objective. Hemingway just avoids telling us what his characters are thinking or feeling. It's almost like a reporter, just pure, simple observation.
And here's the idea, straight from the man himself. The absolute key phrase in this whole quote is "knows enough." See, this isn't some excuse to be lazy or vague. The writer only earns the right to leave things out if they have a deep, foundational understanding of the story first. You write the truth of what's on the surface, and you trust that the reader is smart enough to feel the truth of what lies beneath.
Okay, now for the good part. Let's go beneath the surface. This is where all the magic happens. That massive, hidden 7/8 submerged under the water, that's what gives that tiny visible tip all of its power, all of its significance. Without that hidden mass, the tip is just a meaningless, floating piece of ice. And what's so fascinating here is that, look at this list. These are all the elements we normally think of as the main event in a story. The real feelings, the secret motives, the complicated backstory, the big themes. In the iceberg theory, all of this is deliberately, strategically left unsaid. It exists entirely in the subtext.
So why is this so incredibly effective? Well, it's because it respects our intelligence. Our brains are basically natural inference engines. We're literally wired to connect dots and find patterns. So when a writer gives us clues instead of just spoon-feeding us conclusions, they're not just telling us a story, they're inviting us to co-create it with them. We get to be the detective, and that aha moment of discovery feels so much more personal, so much more profound.
His short story, Hills Like White Elephants, is the absolute textbook example of this. On the surface, it is just a mundane conversation. A man and a woman, they're waiting for a train, talking about drinks, looking at the scenery, but the word abortion is never, ever mentioned. Not once. And yet, through their tense, evasive dialogue, you feel the crushing weight of this monumental unspoken decision. We infer the entire devastating conflict, which makes it all the more powerful.
Okay, so the theory is powerful. We get it. But how do you actually use it? It's not as simple as just, hitting the delete key on a few sentences. It's a really deliberate process of building the full story first and then very carefully taking it apart.
This four-step process is pretty much the key. And notice, the real work starts before you even write the final story. First, you have to know everything. You build that entire hidden iceberg that nobody is ever going to see. Then, you pick out a few key details, a specific object, maybe a nervous gesture, that can symbolize that hidden meaning. From there, you write dialogue that kind of dances around the real issue. And finally, and this is the most critical part, you revise by removing. You cut out everything you possibly can until only the powerful tip of that iceberg is left.
Let's make this super concrete. The telling version on the left just gives us a flat summary. He was heartbroken and decided to end the engagement. It's clear, sure, but it has no soul, right? Now look at the showing version on the right. We see him set a small tin back on the table. He doesn't look at her. He finishes his coffee, stands up, puts on his jacket, and just leaves without a word. I mean, which one hits you harder?
See, the power of that second example is that it forces us to do the work. We feel the cold finality in his super precise actions. We instantly imagine the fight they must have had just before this moment, and notice how using the word small tin is so much more powerful than saying the ring box, because it makes us complete the picture. We feel the heartbreak because we actually built it in our own minds. But let's be totally clear. This technique is a high wire act. It's incredibly powerful when it works, but it's also really easy to fall. Simply leaving things out isn't good writing. A lot of the time, it's just plain confusing.
The single biggest danger here is mistaking vagueness for depth. If you haven't done the hard work of building that submerged 7/8 of the story, then you're not using the iceberg theory. You're just writing empty, minimalist prose. It's like copying the style without any of the substance, and the result is just a frustrated reader searching for clues that you never bothered to leave for them.
So, the most important point is this. Don't ever confuse the iceberg theory with lazy writing. It actually requires more work from the author, not less. It's the difference between just empty minimalism and planned omission. One is like a vacant room, the other is a deliberately curated space. Both are simple, but only one of them has any meaning.
So if you take away just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this: know more than you show. In your writing, in your presentations, your art, honestly, wherever you communicate, build the entire iceberg in your mind first. Understand the full context, the deep history, the complex emotions. Then, and only then, can you have the confidence in the craft to show just the very tip.
Ultimately, this theory encourages all of us to look deeper, not just as creators, but as observers of the world around us. Every simple action, every casual word we hear, it has a vast hidden history right underneath it. So the next time you tell a story, or even just listen to a friend, ask yourself, what's truly being said in the silence?